Does one, two, test one. Man, my audio is too low. Test one, two. Okay, there we go. All right, everyone. We're back on the grind set. We're gonna be trying to stream more this week. And what's the news that's coming out today? Today I wanted to take some time and cover the massive debates that have been going on about this Iran war. Specifically, like some people versus liberals. So we had like Bill Maher talking about the Iran war in Israel with Alyssa Slotkin and Stephen A. Smith, and that was an asinine conversation that we covered yesterday. And today I wanted to cover Emma Vigeland going on to CNN, hence the thumbnail. And so we'll see how that turns out. And I mean, guys, Twitter is such a cesspool, but I'm kind of curious to see what this is, because you know that conservatives love to talk about how unhinged and mentally unstable leftists are, and how leftists always they always like lose their control and that they get way too emotional, right? And then you just wait, and the next day the conservatives are like, wow, an Iranian really loses their shit on anti-Iran war protesters. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Um, so I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Like, the people that are the most bloodthirsty against Iran are Iranian. Well, okay, maybe not the most, but I think that Iranians that don't live in Iran and are pro the bombing of Iran are being amplified the most by the media in this country. So that's what we're seeing here. Like, every single day, I turn on the radio as I'm driving into work and I hear on the radio they're interviewing another Iranian and they're talking about how great it is that the regime in Iran is getting bombed and how they're applauding, like, please, please, America, please, Israel, bomb the regime harder. Don't stop bombing the regime until, the regime has been deposed and we have, I don't know, like a pro-America leadership instated into the ruling class of Iran. Every day it's that. And yet, none of these Iranians are in Iran somehow. Somehow they're always outside of Iran. So here we have my local Republican retweeting this post that has gotten a lot of attention. It says it has 3.9 million views. 100% same goes for Cuba. Yeah, that's that's a whole other conversation, but it's pretty much the exact same thing. So this is 3.9 million views, and this Iranian emigrant is giving the business to a white liberal woman. Also, like, I've really noticed that a lot of Republican propaganda boils down to hating on white liberal women. I think that a lot of it is just due to the fact that white women being against Republican ideals is a really big blow to the Republican propaganda machine. Similar to how anti-Zionists, Jewish anti-Zionists, are a big blow to the Zionist propaganda machine. It's the same thing, because like the entire idea of the Republican Party is like, we have to protect white women. We have to defend the purity of white women. So it's like white women are like the object of their desire, but also the object of their hatred, because the all of the divorced dads that are in the Republican Party have been spurned by their white ex-wives. So let's see. But once again, like, the reason I bring this up is because it is a white woman who is the target of all of the hatred in this video.
She's right. Iranians are asking for the bombs. Oh no.
She's like, Iranians are asking for the bombs. That's what this person's saying. Also, is this an anti-Iran war protest? Because there's a lot of Palestine flags here.
They are. I'm a journalist. I'm in contact with Iranian youth who are asking to be bombed, and you are standing here.
Like, it's just it's so surreal, right? You have an Iranian person yelling at an anti-war protester saying, I'm in contact with Iranians. They're asking to be bombed. Like, They're just saying like, oh yeah, the Iranians are asking to be bombed. It's the same fucking shit that Ethan Klein does on his show, where he brings on a Palestinian that's not living in Palestine, and the Palestinian claims that the good Palestinians want Israel to bomb them, because it's not like Israel's trying to do a genocide on all Palestinians. It's just that Israel's trying to get rid of Hamas. So actually, the good Palestinians want Israel and America to bomb Gaza, just like how, the good Iranians want Iran to be bombed. And if you're actually against that, then you're a foolish white liberal, right? That doesn't know anything.
Supporting a terrorist regime. What are you doing supporting a terrorist regime? Why are you supporting a terrorist regime? I understand bombing is bad. Convince me of what? Of rape? Of women not having no rights? I'm Iranian. I've been imprisoned by that regime.
I'm Iranian. I've been imprisoned by this regime. There was a viral video going around. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. Israeli. Fucking hell. I saw this video earlier today. Israeli girls want to kill Iranian. Is it? Oh yeah, I think this is it. So once again, another fucking pro-Iran getting bombed Iranian. But this time they're talking to their liberator, right? So it's an Iranian talking to the liberator.
I am Iranian and I'm thanking you.
Really?
Yes.
What he's saying is, thank you for saving them. Not killing, saving.
I want to say thank you to you Israeli people.
Yay. Is that good or no? I'm confused. Thank you, Israelis, no?
Let's
Save them. We're killing them, bro.
I am Iranian and I'm thanking you.
Really?
Yes.
What he's saying.
Thank you.
This musician from Iran's pro-monarchy diaspora thanked his Israeli guests for saving Iranians.
In you.
Really?
Yes.
What he's saying is, thank you
Before they corrected him in the live chat to say they are killing them.
for saving them. Not killing, saving.
I want to say thank you to you Israeli people.
Yay. Is that good or no? I'm confused. Thank you, Israelis, no?
Yes.
Them.
Are you not from Israel?
I am.
Then you don't know if it's good or bad.
Go Israel. But you're saying that you're thanking us for bombing them, or you're thanking them for bombing us?
Thanking you for...
Dude, it's just so funny to me because outside of the main point of watching this video, which is like people that are applauding the bombing of Iran right now are crazy across the board, regardless of whatever reason they're applauding it. Like those people are crazy. But I also think it's just another note here is how thin-skinned Israelis are, right? This guy's like applauding them and they think they're the butt of some joke. They literally are incapable of accepting any type of compliments from someone that, they deem as inferior. That's one thing. But also they're just like so pre-programmed to always be playing the victim that they literally can't accept any compliment because they think that they're the butt of some joke that the outside world is playing on them. Like, man, the people of Israel are so fucked up.
That you're thanking us for bombing them, or you're thanking them for
re-education camps in the form of like a fucking summer camp where they get thrown in like one Israeli with like 99 other kids from different countries so that they can just learn what normal people are like. Like, just send them to fucking play, like, capture the flag on an island for 2 months in the summer.
Go Israel. But you're saying that you're thanking us for bombing them, or you're thanking them for bombing us?
Thanking you for saving the people of Iran.
Of course, but we did not save them. We're killing them, bro.
I am Iranian and I'm thanking you.
From the mouths of babes.
Really? Yes.
From the mouths of babes, right? I mean, leave it to an Israeli to tell an Iranian the truth about what Israel and America are doing.
I am Iranian and I'm thanking you.
Really?
Yes.
What he's saying is, thank you for saving them. Not killing, saving.
Second of all, your country is bombing the government of Iran, not Iranian people.
Right. Oh.
So,
yes.
It's a rescue mission.
Careful not to kill their freaking citizens.
You are trying to not to kill our citizens, but sometimes it happens.
But sometimes it happens. Dude, the copium coming off of that guy. I don't know what's more sad. The copium from that guy or the brainwashing that those poor girls have experienced. How embarrassing. That's how pathetic these fake Iranians are. Even the Zionists are confused. Even the devil is confused. Re-education programs. Honestly, no, seriously, like, put them into a fucking summer camp with regular human beings. It's like, it's essentially the birthright trip, but in reverse. Like, these people need to experience other cultures than the fucking toxic, incestuous Israeli culture that tells you you're a victim for the entire world and you need to, like, murder your neighbors in order to feel safe in your own home. Mind you, all this team Pavlani Zionists aren't living in Iran. Well, that's true. All of the Iranians that have been interviewed about how great the bombing of Iran is aren't living in Iran. The other thing is, let's see. So Marco Rubio interview. Marco Rubio did an interview with Al Jazeera 3 hours ago. Marco Rubio gave an interview where he was saying his targets.
Let me start by asking you this. Have formal talks begun with Iran, or are these still in direct communications, exploring common ground?
Well, there's messages and some direct talks going on between some inside of Iran and the...
Bro, I remember a week ago, Donald Trump did an interview where he's like, we were talking to some people, they may have been Iranians, I don't know, they were brown, and they said that if we did one thing for them, they'd let our ships through the Strait of Hormuz, and I didn't know if they were going to do it, I didn't know if they were the right people, but sure enough, our ships went through the strait unmolested, and so I guess we were talking to the right people. Like, they're so fucking inept, they don't even know who to negotiate with. They don't even know if the people they're talking to is the correct channels or not. And that type of incompetence is so deep inside of this administration that it's gotten all the way up to the president. Like, you would think that when you're first making connections with the negotiators for Iran, you would test those channels out, right? But no, like, no one even bothered to test them out until Trump's just like, fuck it, send the ships through the strait. If they blow up, then I guess they're not the right people to negotiate with.
United States, primarily through intermediaries, but there's been some conversation. And I think the president always prefers diplomacy, always prefers an outcome. And we could have done this before.
Dude, he always prefers diplomacy, and we could have done this before. He literally fucking bombs Iran. What do you mean? He prefers diplomacy. We could have done diplomacy before, but we just bombed him first.
Between some inside of Iran and the United States, primarily through intermediaries, but there's been some conversation. And I think the president always prefers diplomacy, always prefers an outcome. And we could have done this before.
Are you considering a plan to ensure full control over the entire strait?
Well, the Straits of Hormuz will be open. When this operation is over, it will be open, and it'll be open one way or another. It will be open because Iran agrees to abide by international law and not block the commercial waterway, or a coalition of nations from around the world and the region, with the participation of the United States, will make sure that it's open. One way or the other, it's going to be open. The United States is committed to finishing the job. We're working very closely with all of our allies, work very closely in defensive. Yes, unfortunately, drones and missiles get through from time to time, but the overwhelming majority of these launches are defeated. They're shot down before they reach their intended target, or the destruction would be far worse. These are strong, stable countries in the region. These are our allies. These are our friends. And we are going to continue to be there and support them as they face this onslaught. And by the way, they're not the ones...
Bro, saying that you can escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz is complete copium. Like, a single fucking drone is going to... A single drone that gets through your, like, anti-drone technology that is on these warships is going to make it so that's unprofitable for these shipping companies to send ships through that strait. So no one's going to do that if their only assurance is from the US saying that they're not going to get bombed. Like, they need assurances from Iran. And honestly, the ships that have gotten assurances from Iran saying that they get a safe passage have been successfully able to get through the strait.
Iran is targeting them in retribution, which tells you the nature of the people we're dealing with, unfortunately.
But do you have any sense of clarity about when the war is going to be over in the Middle East?
The operation in Iran, as soon as we achieve our objectives, as I've outlined them repeatedly, and that is we've destroyed their Navy, we've destroyed their Air Force, we are well on our way.
Oh yeah, so I wanted to cover this because I saw this clip before, and this is the clip that, if you know anyone that's like, we're doing this to save the Iranian people, Marco Rubio's position is what? Like foreign secretary? What the fuck is his position? Marco, oh my god, I can't fucking type. Marco, he's the Secretary of State. So Marco Rubio, he's the Secretary of State, basically like the top fucking diplomat in the country. And his stated goals here is to not save the Iranian people, not do a regime change, but to completely neuter Iran. It's going to be the same thing that Israel has been doing to Gaza for their entire existence, where it's going to be like mowing the lawn. That's what we're doing now. So the United States and Israel want to start a new paradigm where they just bomb Iran every few years, maybe even like multiple times per year, just to get rid of any kind of weapons manufacturing that Iran may or may not be doing. And to just remind them that, Israel is the hegemonic power in that region. So let's see if Marco Rubio says his stated goal in Iran is to free the Iranian people from the oppressive regime.
Iran is targeting them in retribution, which tells you the nature of the people we're dealing with, unfortunately.
But do you have any sense of clarity about when the war is going to be over in the Middle East?
The operation in Iran, as soon as we achieve our objectives, as I've outlined them repeatedly, and that is we've destroyed their Navy, we've destroyed their Air Force, we are well on our way to destroying the majority of their arms factories, and we're well on our way to significantly degrading their missile launchers. When those objectives are achieved, we will have achieved the purpose of this operation, and that
So destroying their military, destroying their missile launchers, destroying their Navy, destroying their Air Force. Oh yeah, saving all of the Iranian people too.
That's something that's not going to take months. That's a matter of weeks. I'm not going to tell you exactly how many weeks, but a matter of weeks, not months.
A matter of weeks. Yeah. So once again, all of this fucking manufactured consent that you hear from NPR about how Israel or Iranians want to be bombed to save the people from the from the authoritarian government, like, it's all complete bullshit. And I actually just, let's see. I want to see if we can find like just a natural story here. U.S. could exempt oil industry from protecting Gulf animals for national security. Trump rolls back pause. Do school lunches need an overhaul? God, birthright citizenship is going to the Supreme Court. Dude, we're so fucked. Let's see. Let me look up Iran and see if we get anything good. Iran strike wounded over a dozen U.S. personnel and hit a valuable jet in Saudi Arabia. What's Israel doing in southern Lebanon? What is Israel doing in southern Lebanon? Okay. Iran warns against a ground invasion. Come on, please tell me. What is Israel doing?
People in southern Lebanon are living through a war within a war. The war is, of course, the U.S.-Israeli campaign against Iran. The war within Lebanon started with a series of strikes by the militant group Hezbollah. They launched rockets and drones from Lebanon into Israel, and Israel has responded with strikes in Lebanon. And with that, a conflict that has flared on and off for decades reignited.
All right, okay, so look at this. The war started, of course, when Hezbollah bombed Israel. All right, so that's fine. That we all know that it's like, we're going to blame Hezbollah for Lebanon being invaded by Israel. Look at this. More stories from NPR. Why some Iranian Americans back the war on their country of origin. Where are the stories that are saying why some Iranian Americans don't support the war? Come on. No, let's listen. Let's listen to it. Consider this. Hit me. Why do some Iranian Americans support this war? Okay, I guess it's not going to be an article. We're going to have to listen to it.
Protests and military escalation. In the Middle East, an Iranian attack on an airbase in Saudi Arabia hit several aircraft and wounded more than a dozen U.S. troops. Yemeni Houthis, backed by Iran, entered the war. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced Sunday that his country would widen its invasion of southern Lebanon. All of this as President Trump weighs ending the war he started or extending it by ordering newly arrived Marines and paratroopers onto Iranian shores.
Our daughter's in the Army, currently stationed in South Korea, and right now the military boots on the ground possibility is the biggest thing in my head right now.
That's Karina Kagan speaking to member station KCUR in Kansas City on Saturday. She was one of many protesters who turned out across the country at the third No Kings demonstration against President Trump. The idea of a ground invasion of Iran is also divisive for members of the Iranian diaspora.
Ground troops is very scary. American troops could lose support from U.S. side. You could get a lot of casualties on the American front, and that can make the public here completely against the Iranians.
That's Sahand Kodahian at an anti-regime protest on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. on Sunday. Consider this. At the heart of the war in the Gulf is a question about the fate of the Iranian government. What do some Iranians in the United States...
No, it's not, bro. It's literally just about the war. It's just about Iran's power in the region. That's all that it is. The fate of the Iranian government. I mean, this shit was posted yesterday. Like... Come on, we're obviously not going to try to do regime change in Iran. No one's even saying that. Like, is anyone in the government actually saying we're going to do regime change against them?
Want that government to look like, and why? From NPR, I'm Adrian Ma.
This message comes from Schwab. Everyone has moments when they could have done better. Same goes for where you invest. Level up and invest
50% off your
U.S. The war with Iran has prompted many Iranian Americans to take to the streets to express their opposition to the Iranian regime. The past month has seen... It's Consider This from NPR. Here in the U.S., the war with Iran has prompted many Iranian Americans to take to the streets to express their opposition to the Iranian regime. The past month has seen demonstrations in L.A., New York, and on Sunday in D.C. Ramtin Arablouei, co-host of NPR's history podcast Throughline, was at that rally.
We are here at the National Mall where there is a demonstration taking place in support of Reza Pahlavi, who many Iranian Americans support as a potential future leader of Iran if the Islamic Republic were to fall. The crowd is about a couple of thousand people, it appears. Organizers have told me they expect upwards of 100,000, but we're nowhere near that number right now out here. Okay. The crowd is chanting, "This is the final battle. Pahlavi will return."
This rally did not come out of nowhere. It's tied to a long-standing debate among Iranians in the country and the diaspora over who should govern Iran. For more context, we're joined now by Ramtin in the studio. Ramtin, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Adrian.
And can you start by telling us more about what you saw at this D.C. demonstration?
Yes, so when we arrived, there was a very large crowd of diverse set of Iranians, mostly Iranian Americans, flying flags, holding up the picture of Reza Pahlavi. And we saw a bunch of different flags. There was the lion and sun flag, which is the flag of Iran that was there before the Islamic Revolution in 1979. We saw people holding American flags and even Israeli flags, which I know for a lot of listeners that's confusing, right? Like, why are they holding up the flag of a country that's attacking them? But I think it's a pretty simple explanation. For many of these protesters who we talk to, it's basically a enemy of my enemy is my friend situation. And that's exactly what.
I mean, dude, do none of these people have family in Iran? Like, are you fucking kidding me? You're gonna report on people carrying Israeli flags as a support of pro-Iran?
Exactly what one of the protesters told me, named Leila Rak.
They are bringing peace in the whole world. Israel, of course, with the help of United States, which we are very grateful because Israel, they know what we are going through. You have to have been living under this fascistic regime so that you understand what is this.
Interesting. Ramtin, earlier this year, you did an episode of Throughline on the anti-government protests that swept Iran at the end of...
Like, guys, this whole thing is just to do propaganda for America's war in Iran, right? That's what this, like, multi-month long campaign that NPR and other liberal institutional news organizations have done, highlighting the quote-unquote Iranian voices that are pro the bombing of Iran. That's what they're doing, because they're trying to put this humanitarian spin on it, which is what our fucking liberal institutions do always, like forever. That's what our liberal institutions do. We have our fucking fascists that are just going ahead and bombing Iran, not giving a shit about Gaza, I guess not giving a shit about Lebanon either. The West Bank, allowing West Bank terrorists to do colonization and ethnic cleansing in the West Bank. And, they don't care. They just say, yeah, we're going to do it because we're racist, we hate Iran, and we don't want them to live proper lives without actually submitting to us on every single level. So they just say that. And then the liberals come along and they're like, well, we can't just say that we hate them and we want to dominate them. We have to say that we're doing it for a good reason, right? So what's a good reason? Here's someone carrying an Israeli flag and they're like, it's good that Iran is getting bombed. So we'll just quote them. Yeah, I don't think we need to listen to the rest of that because we do have a lot of other stuff to cover. But I think we get the gist with that NPR article. Here's a quote from Caroline Levitt. Some of the previous leaders are now no longer on planet Earth because they lied to the United States and they strung us along in negotiations. And that was unacceptable to the president, which is why many of the previous leaders were killed. So we're just like, if we don't like what you say in negotiations, we're going to kill the negotiators. Absolutely bloodthirsty, just evil stuff coming from the White House, but that's very on brand. What is this? Oh, shit. Wrong. Where's the link to this article? An Al Jazeera article. Trump threatens to blow up the desalination plants in Iran if no deal is reached. I do love how we're going to save the people of Iran by bombing their schools, bombing their power grid, bombing their refinement plants so that toxic rain rains down, giving them cancer for the foreseeable future. And now we're going to make it so they can't drink clean water. That's what we're going to do. We're really saving the Iranian people here. Donald Trump has renewed his threat to blow up a range of civilian infrastructure in Iran, including all of the country's desalination plants, in a move that would threaten the water source for millions of people and that experts say would be illegal. Not like anything we've done regarding Iran has been legal, so don't let that stop you, Trump. The U.S. president has been regularly warning Iran about possible U.S. strikes against energy and electricity facilities, but on Monday he added water stations to the list of targets. The United States is in serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran. He added that great progress has been made in the talks, but if for any reason a deal is not shortly reached, which it probably will be, and if the Hormuz Strait is not immediately open for business, we will conclude our lovely stay in Iran by blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells, and Karg Island, and possibly all desalinization plants, which we have purposely not yet touched. Thank you. This is clearly an act of collective punishment. Yeah, so I'm glad we're reading this now because this is really going to set the groundwork for when we get into some of these conversations that we're going to watch later on about the nature of this war in Iran. Let's watch this. And I love how he just tacked this on. And possibly all desalinization plants. Never change.
The Israeli military has expanded its operations and advanced deeper inside southern Lebanon, with the stated aim of creating what it calls a buffer zone to protect Israel's northern communities.
Yeah, I mean, we have to cover what Israel's doing in Lebanon right now, or some other time, but it is pretty much they're just doing to South Lebanon what they did to Gaza. Now, obviously, they don't have as much control, so some of the strategies and tactics are going to be a little bit different. But yeah, it's not good. Okay. Ted Cruz. They had us debate about Hassan Piker on CNN. Anyway, so let's give it up for Emma. Glammed up for CNN tonight at 10 p.m. Clips below. Here's one. All right, we'll see if we can find the entire thing, but if we can't, we're gonna come back to these clips. Emma Vigeland, these Republican women are hypocrites. Oh, really? That's the biggest thing she had to say here.
She is allowed to have, and all these members are allowed
is this
to have
just going to be a clip?
Opinion or how they feel.
Oh, this isn't the entire section? It's just, all right, we're going to have to watch Emma on the clips. But it is funny that the only clip that's posted by CNN are Emma Vigeland going after Republican women. That's the only thing they clipped out. They didn't clip any of the actual contentious parts, which would get the most views, right? Like 14K views. 13K views on all of these. Like they're not clipping out the real spicy meatballs. They're just clipping out the bland. We're gonna go after Republican women
About the president or what
But
have
I
you.
am curious about this. Like, did they have an actual Republican on the panel?
Echo. This speaker has absolutely passed transformational legislation that has brought relief. The One Big Beautiful Bill has brought amazing relief to American families across the country.
Okay, so
and
this
he's done
guy's a
so within
Republican.
margins. And I would say, and we're comparing it to Speaker Pelosi, who gave us the Unaffordable Non-Care Act out of her speakership. This speaker has absolutely passed transformational legislation and is doing.
He is so proud of himself. The Unaffordable Non-Care Act. You can see this is the thing, guys. These Republican pundits, they don't believe anything they're saying. They just memorize a few lines and they try to speak quickly enough to get them out so that they can get invited back on and to do another segment.
Absolutely an amazing job on behalf of the American people. So these folks are entitled to their opinion, but the results that are coming out of this House tell a totally different story.
I would say yes, the legislation is transformational and taking millions and millions of people off of their health care. That is exactly what's going to happen.
But the ACA was supposed to fix that.
The ACA
passed before the One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Wasn't the ACA supposed to be the magic pill that fixed everything?
That's not my contention. I'm a believer in Medicare for all.
There's 45 million people with health care today because of the ACA.
ACA expanded coverage, but it did not solve everything. We need to have a single payer system that can change that, and that's something that I advocate for on my show all the time. So I'm not going to say that the ACA is a panacea, but the Republicans right now are not extending the 2021 ACA subsidies, meaning that people's premiums are going to maybe skyrocket because of the Republican Party right now. So, yeah, it's transformational legislation.
That's the Republican Party's fault.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
You control Congress and you control the
Congress,
White
you
House.
can
So, of
extend
course, it's the
tax
Republican Party's fault.
Who wrote the sunset? Who wrote the sunset?
Let me finish my point, please. Let me finish my point, please. I want to go back to what Marjorie Taylor Greene said. I want to go back to what Marjorie Taylor Greene said.
What? Millions of people are going to lose their health care? their health coverage during a Republican administration due to a Republican bill that was passed by Republicans and signed into law by a Republican president and then has been upheld by a Republican Supreme Court. Like, what? That's a Republican's fault? No way.
About Mike Johnson and about this White House, because I do think that there's a buy-in from certain Republican women that if you toe the line, we'll allow you to be a professional woman, we'll allow you to speak your mind, but only in this very narrow context, and then we'll marginalize you on the scenes along the lines. They have played ball, but when it came to the Epstein issue, they saw women who were victims. They saw them crying out, saying, "Can you please release this information?" And they saw this White House whipping votes to make sure that that information would not get out there. They not seating Representative Grijalva for weeks and weeks so that she wouldn't be that 218th vote on the discharge petition. So I think that these Republican women are hypocrites, that they're and in many ways, and they bought into a far-right agenda that is harming the American public. But we should also listen to them when they say this administration does not respect women in their actions, in the way that they treat the Republican women in their caucus, and then, of course, in the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and the cover-up that they've engaged in.
Damn. All right. Well, I mean, obviously made some pretty good points there. Let's see the clips. Let's see the clips. Vigland, Mike Johnson terrified that if he moves an inch away from the president, who's absolutely out of control, his dementia ratings are insane. He's going to lose his job. All right.
Absolutely. I think you saw this move from Trump to fund TSA by basically going around Congress, or that's what his executive order says at least, because they understand that this is hurting Republicans more, as had the previous government shutdown when you also had, after that, the Epstein files and the scandal from that. And this is where Trump has kind of entered into kind of lame duck territory besides the criminal and illegal wars that he's waging. ICE should not be funded at all anymore. This is an organization that is completely out of control. I don't know if people are forgetting, but at the beginning of this year, ICE killed in cold blood 2 American citizens, or DHS, whichever, and that was a part of the funding that was blocked. And there has been no accountability on that front. Since Trump got into office, over 40 people have died in ICE detention, and we have no idea what's going on with those investigations. And you hear about the conditions in these detention facilities, which you could call camps, where children are not getting the adequate medical care that they need. There's no medical care being provided at all. And people are in squalid conditions. They're being warehoused. It's a human rights violation. So the Democrats should absolutely hold the line on this front.
Yeah, my state representative tried to go to an ICE detention facility, and she was not allowed into a certain section because she was told that there was a tuberculosis outbreak there, and no one inside that area had been tested, so they had no idea of knowing who had it or not. But they're like, don't go inside. Don't go in unless you want to get tuberculosis.
But we're burying the lead here. John Thune and Mike Johnson are not aligned here. Thune was a part of passing this with unanimous consent, understanding that this was hurting the Republicans in the Senate. And what Mike Johnson is doing is he's afraid of losing his speakership. Because in 2023, the House GOP basically said that you just need 1 member to call up and recall the speaker. And so he's terrified that if he moves an inch away from the president, who is absolutely out of control. I mean, his rantings, his dementia-laden rantings are insane. If they move 1 inch away from him, he's going to lose his job. So that means that everybody who is experiencing all these horrible instances with their travel, and incidents, I should say, when they're traveling and flying, that's because Mike Johnson's afraid to lose his job. And all those TSA agents that have to work without pay as ICE stands over their shoulder, that's Mike Johnson.
Emma, I'm actually glad you said that. I'm glad.
God damn it. I need to see the actual back and forth. All right, here we might get some back and forth.
Everyone should be on notice that this is a president of action who will, in fact...
This is a president of action? Bro, that's what fucking Stephen A. Smith said the other day, too. He's like, every president since like 2001 has been talking about how Iran is a threat and we have to do something about Iran and we have to do something about Iran. And I just think it's hypocritical that now that Trump actually did something against Iran, people are mad about it. It's so fucking funny. What, just because he bombed Iran, now it's like, well, he did something, so that's good.
We'll take action. I don't want that to happen. I don't think anyone at this table or any of the American public wants that to happen, but everyone should be on notice that this is a president of action who will, in fact, do what he needs to do to carry out his mission of protecting the American public.
What do you mean?
bombing Iran protecting the American people. No, it's not. It's not. It's definitionally not. If anything, it's like, I don't know, protecting Israel's feelings, because once again, if Iran could bomb America, they'd be doing it right now. They don't have that capabilities. They never were close to getting a nuclear weapon. Before we bombed them last summer, there were reports that they weren't close to getting a nuclear weapon, and we just ignored it anyway. And also, the best way of stopping them from getting a nuclear weapon is to make deals with them and negotiate with them and try to de-radicalize them against America. Use some soft power for once in the fucking life of America. I guess like Obama did that, but Trump got in there and he ripped up the deal that Obama made with Iran.
State sponsor of terrorism, though. How do you define terrorism?
Are we going to argue that Iran is literally the number one?
Is Iran committing genocide in Gaza right now, like the Israeli government is, which dragged us into this war? Which
Like, dude, our president went onto Twitter today, literally threatened to do collective punishment against citizens, against civilian infrastructural targets. That is the definition of terrorism. Targeting like civilian infrastructure or civilians to put pressure onto the civilians. That is the definition of terrorism. Like, our fucking president just made a tweet today talking about how he wanted to do terrorism desperately. And this guy's like, are we really going to argue that America is the biggest terroristic threat here?
Every president prior.
The number one sponsor of terrorism.
For 47 years, the Iranians have killed Americans and our allies across this world.
Okay.
They're trying to obtain nuclear weapons.
Yeah, no, they're not trying to obtain nuclear weapons. Also, like, Iran is trying to kill America and our allies across the world. Who did 9/11? Was it Iran? Also, even if it's true that Iran's trying to, kill Americans for no reason whatsoever, they're just completely villainous, that wouldn't excuse the fact that America has done way more fucking terrorism in the world than Iran than Iran possibly could.
How?
So they can annihilate Israel and potentially capitals in Europe.
There's no evidence of that. The JC
capitals in Europe.
POA was actually a successful deal that Obama
I find
negotiated.
It appalling that you're an Iranian apologist.
Yeah, this is so. There's nothing.
Yeah, and then when they get confronted with facts, it's immediately, oh my heavens, I can't believe that you'd say those things, like clutching their pearls immediately. I find it appalling that you're telling me the truth about Iran and not swallowing American propaganda.
I can call out Israel's genocide and then everybody swarms.
No.
This is the one thing that you can't say. It's the one thing you can't say. It is about Gaza. This is about a regional conflict that's spiraling out of control that the president is
you stated
adding
that
to.
There's no evidence that Iran wants nuclear weapons. They lied.
There has
they
been a
buried
religious
something in the
edict that
mountain.
has said.
They were literally investigated by the International Energy Commission. The same group that was going and checking their nuclear stockpile and their uranium enrichment while they still had the nuclear deal. Like, they were investigated by that organization, and it was concluded that they were not on the pathway to producing nuclear weapons at all. And then Trump bombed their nuclear facilities anyway. So yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about evidence, it's not on the side of we have to bomb Iran right now.
Since 2003, that they should not be creating a nuclear.
Yeah, bro, CNN's been right-wing since, like, I don't know, halfway through the Biden administration. Before then, yeah, all major news organizations are, at best, liberal, right? At best, it's liberal and then insanely hawkish when it comes to foreign policy.
The United Nations. They lied to the international.
We killed the Ayatollah, the older father, who was actually against building a nuclear weapon because he thought that it was going to contribute here.
I'm shocked that you are.
It's so funny, dude. She's just hitting them with fact after fact after fact, and none of these guys can take it. They're all like clutching their pearls. They're throwing their hands up. Oh, it's just a silly woman. She doesn't understand. I'm shocked. I find it appalling. Like, it's all just. I'm offended by this. Like, they have nothing. They're empty. They're just blowing hot air.
Defending the Iranians, and I got to tell you, I hope that you don't understand. I'm genuinely shocked that you are defending the Iranians.
I'm shocked that you are defending the Iranians. Well, he said Iranians. Iranians. Yeah. Once again, I thought this was a peacekeeping mission, right? No, like he's just admitting that yes, it's collective punishment for a crime that Iran didn't commit.
And I got to tell you, I hope that you tuck yourself in at night under that pillow of lies that you just told about the Iranians. That is absolute a crock of a word I can't say on national television.
Okay, so the United States is funding a government that an Israeli human rights group that Selim says is committing genocide, as is Amnesty International, as is every credible human rights group right now. We are
They literally just are like, oh my god, dude, I should fucking get on CNN. I just need to shave, buy a suit, and then show up there and be like, what? America did something bad? Well, I never. This is beyond the pale. I can't believe that you defend the people that America and Iran are bombing. Like, who? Just switch that out for any target. I can't believe that you're defending the Russians here. I can't believe that you're defending the Gazans.
There's a massacre in Gaza. There are hundreds of thousands of people unaccounted for under rubble. That's what I define as terrorism. Now, Iran is now exerting their leverage over the Strait of Hormuz.
Do you want the Iranians to have a nuclear weapon, yes or no?
Thousands of people.
Do you want Iran to have nuclear weapons? Let's just put it this way, man. If Iran had a nuclear weapon, would more people have been killed in the last month and a half, or would less people have been killed in that month and a half? Less people would have, because America would not be fucking bombing Iran if they had a nuclear weapon. So America and Israel are unironically making a pretty strong argument for Iran to get a nuclear weapon.
Everybody here talking over each other. Disagree with your personal description of what terrorism is, and I'm sorry, it doesn't mean
doing terrorism. Doing terrorism is your personal description of terrorism. No, his definition of terrorism is when America's enemies fight back against America.
Okay, so I mean, killing civilians is what I define it as
a diplomat.
Dude, this is why I wanted to watch the full fucking segment. Is it not online anywhere?
The idea that you are a Iranian sympathizer and the people
ripping their chairs.
The American public, I think, is sitting at home watching this, gripping their chairs at the idea that
gripping their chairs? Maybe JD Vance is.
That you are a Iranian sympathizer and the people.
Dude, it's so fucking funny because like he made a worse metaphor, or he made a worse idiom for clutching their pearls, right? Which is what he's doing. That's his debate tactic. That's what all of these conservative debaters are. That's their only thing. They clutch their pearls. I saw a clip of like Ben Shapiro talking about Dave. What the fuck is his name? Dave Smith? That like 5 o'clock shadow comedian.
Ripping their chairs?
The people that
like he's literally just like, Americans would be at home clutching their pearls, hearing you defend Iran. But clutching their pearls has a more negative connotation than the fucking bullshit he just made up.
Well, and it's not funny. The idea of what and that's scary. The idea
the guy's literally laughing
of what the Iranian regime has done around the world, not just to Americans, but to their own people. You talked about rights and things. They killed 30,000 people.
I don't defend the Iranian government, but the reason that we have this government,
the American public,
gripping their chairs. All right, one more. Actually, hold on. Let's try to find the Ben Shapiro clip. Ben Shapiro, Dave Smith. Damn, bro. Wait, what's the difference between these? March 5th, Ben Shapiro feuds with Dave Smith over terrorist. Oh, God, Russell Brand posted? Oh, this is 9 months ago. Brilliant response by Piers Morgan. Okay, let's see what we got here. We got a few clips. Yeah, I'm not fucking watching Piers.
Ben Shapiro is undoubtedly an intelligent and influential commentator. I've always liked and respected him, even when we disagree. And I still do, He's stridently partisan and staunchly conservative, of course, but he's willing to criticize Trump and other
screen. Whatever dregs are still willing to go on screen with Piers Morgan.
America-hating
Bro,
terror
he's such a
apologist
little,
who
he's
can
such
only
a little twerp, man. Ben Shapiro, what happened to your luscious eyebrows?
Morgan,
Go back
which is
to
the
that.
Jerry Springer of political television, where people gather to throw chairs at one another and determine paternity. Piers Morgan, who has sort of made a mockery of the entire industry by putting on...
Like, it looks like Ben Shapiro is going through a bit of a midlife crisis here. He looks very unsure of himself in this clip. He's getting attacked from all sides right now. He has no port in this storm that is Republican propaganda right now. The guy is just, I think he's really having a crisis of identity. And you can see that he is scared. He's scared in this clip. He's scared criticizing Piers Morgan. He's scared going after Dave Smith, but he's getting pressured by Israel on one side, and then he's getting pressured by his anti-Semitic audience from the other side. And he knows if he goes after these people, Israel's going to be happy, but he's going to get roasted alive by them and his audience members. So, like, just look at him squirm in this clip when he tries to squirt this out.
Screen. Whatever dregs are still willing to go on screen with Piers Morgan. He had on Dave Smith, who has, apparently his job is never to tell jokes, but
is he on
to
drugs?
instead give poorly informed foreign policy takes. And also to hate America. Here we go.
Well, first, Jerry Springer was a very good friend of mine, and he was a beloved national treasure.
Give us a fucking outrage, Piers Morgan. I just want to see Ben Shapiro. Come on, where's Ben Shapiro? I don't want to hear him talk more.
Which is weird because I appeared on his show for literally
Israeli government.
Take Piers Morgan, of course, suggesting the only reason that I was not appearing on his show anymore was his criticism of Israel, which is weird because I appeared on his show for literally months after October 7th, even though he was already critical of Israel. And I really haven't said anything.
I love that. Like, he was already critical of Israel's genocide even before they killed like 100,000 people and destroyed 90% of the infrastructure of Gaza.
On Piers or about Piers or to Piers for probably a year. I just stopped appearing on his show. Why? Well, honestly, he kept bringing on actual Nazis and the Nazi adjacent and then treated them all too often as voices worthy of a large...
Ben Shapiro, Nazi adjacent. I mean, he didn't bring you on anymore, right? Like, you can't... you fall under that category, my boy.
Audience, like, for example, these people.
I believe that Jewish supremacy is the greatest threat to America, and I think it's the greatest threat to the world today. I truly believe that.
This is painful. Let's go to Ben Shapiro's actual show.
Where we're at is everybody that American flag down behind you if you're going to say America is the biggest terrorist organization in the world. And it was the neocon, probably 600 listeners an episode of his show. He really has his finger on the pulse. Well, anyway, here is angry little Ben Shapiro coming after me. Let's play it and let's give our thoughts.
He had on Dave Smith. Apparently, his job is never to tell jokes, but to instead give poorly informed foreign policy takes, and also to hate America. Here we go.
The IDF is the worst terrorist organization in the region. Let's get real. The United States of America is arguably the worst terrorist organization in the world. If you want to look over the last 25 years, how many innocent civilians we've slaughtered. You're getting us into what are the...
Dude, the Republicans have the exact same reaction to that across the board. It doesn't matter who they are. It's always, wow, oh, I'm shocked. Wow, I'm appalled by this. Oh, I'm clutching my chair. Dude, it's the exact same reaction. Let's listen to what Ben Shapiro's reaction is.
Neocon, yeah, that's right. You're getting us into the neocon seventh war.
Well, Ben Ferguson rightly notes at that point that he might want to take down the American flag behind him. That is right. It doesn't matter, it turns out, how many times you appear on Joe Rogan's show or how many times you hide behind your title of comedian who holds the Guinness Book of World Records for fewest jokes told, or how many times you spew puerile analogies that demonstrate nothing but unbelievable, willful ignorance of the nature.
Oh, an unbelievable, willful ignorance. All right.
No,
so this is...
keep playing it, Dave. Play it. Play more. A pretty funny AI book that Ben Shapiro threw up there, though.
Hey, sure. I don't care. Know where I didn't even.
America is the worst terrorist organization in the world. You just do. To make that argument, you have to deliver of war. I'm sorry, but you hate the country if you say America is the worst terrorist organization.
Oh, you hate the country. All right. I stand corrected. Not every single conservative's reaction is clutching their pearls. Some is just saying you hate the country of America if you say that America does a lot of terrorism.
In the world. You just do. To make that argument, you have to deliberately obscure the difference between actual terrorists who actually are seeking deliberately to kill innocent people in the name of politics, not collateral damage, deliberately seeking to kill innocent people.
All right, just pause it.
And
right
nation states.
All right, well, let's see if Dave Smith makes a point that I'm going to make, which is like, we target civilian infrastructure on purpose, right? Also, bombing places without care for collateral damage can be construed as terrorism.
I mean, look, dude, this is, again, you could just say this. He can't actually, if you notice, Rob, he can't actually engage in the argument.
Yeah, obviously. You can't engage with it. It's just clutching their pearls and saying, oh, you hate America then. So anyway, just wanted to bring up Ben Shapiro because I thought that was pretty fucking funny that, we have the same reaction from these CNN goons as we do with Ben Shapiro. And just, you say that America does terrorism? People are clutching their pearls at home. All right, let's take a look at these little dweebs. Mehdi Hassan versus trigonometry.
The war in Iran, what do you make of it?
Right now, I think
this is going to be like a babysitting session. This is going to be like when you have to babysit your little cousins or maybe your nephews or something, and they just annoy you with pestering questions.
It's a disaster. I don't think it was legal. I don't think it was justifiable. And I think a lot of innocent people are dying as we speak without any real justification.
Israel's war goals and interests are actually very clear.
For a fall, partly, yes. Netanyahu's kind of admitted it. Is it the old belligerence of Donald Trump with a country that won't bow down to him? Is it Witkoff and Kushner screwing up the negotiations, not understanding what was going on, which a lot of reporting is suggesting? Is it just Jared Kushner and others trying to make money out of this? We see Kushner's, a lot of, with Trump, follow the money is often an explanation to a lot of what's going on. Is it him trying to distract from domestic economic woes? We've seen this before. Unpopular leaders at home decide to start a foreign war to distract the public attention. Zateo, my company, did a poll of the American public recently, found 52% of Americans think the Epstein files was one of the reasons Trump went to war. You might think mad conspiracy theory. A majority of Americans believe that is one of the reasons he went to war. So I think it's a mix of things. Israel obviously played a big role in that. And I think now he's in it, he's doubling down, tripling down. He could just declare victory. People like Tucker Carlson have called him or called proxies of his and said, just say mission accomplished and go home. Just say I killed Khamenei, I degraded their military, blah, 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 and go home like you did last year after the 12-day war. He won't do it. He's quadrupling down as we speak.
So why do you think that is?
If we're going to spend an hour doing psychoanalyzing Trump.
Mehdi Hassan explains a ton of reasons why Trump is at war and continuing to be at war. The glazed expressions come over the trigonometry boys' eyes, and then they just say, okay, but why is he going to war?
It's going to be difficult. I think he is someone who does not want to accept defeat. The worst thing in his life is to be a loser. The guy doesn't accept he lost the 2020 election, still ranting on about that. The idea that he would lose to the Iranians, and he is losing right now, let's just be very clear. All of the available evidence suggests he is losing.
What do you mean?
The goals, what are his goals in Iran? We don't know because he's never really stated them. But if it's destroying Iran, he's failed. He posted a couple of weeks ago, I've destroyed 100% of Iran's military capability. Okay, then what are we watching every day land on Gulf countries? What are we watching happening in the Strait of Hormuz? He's alienated his allies. Iran's nuclear enrichment, whatever they have still left over, they still have. They're still hitting Gulf countries. Gulf countries are furious. So I think he's losing. And, people like, strategic experts will point out that a country like Iran wins simply by surviving, right? Because they're the weaker, smaller power. So I think he's in a bad state. I don't think he's going to give up because he can't handle the defeat. And by the way, it's a US-Israeli war, right? And a lot of people have pointed out that the US and Israeli interests are not the same. Our strategic interests are not Israel.
That's very clear that they're not. And I think that divergence is one of the reasons people keep saying, Israel tricked Trump into this war. But bullied. I think one of your guests on your show recently talked about how he bullied him. And that's where they lose me because I don't understand.
I don't understand this comment section. Is the comment section like pro Mehdi Hassan or anti Mehdi Hassan? They were too scared to debate Mehdi on Gaza, 214 upvotes. The way they look at their guests reminds me of a job interview. Mehdi is just next level when it comes to debate. Final comment by Mehdi hit the nail on the head. We don't try to understand the mindset. Yeah, I guess the comment section is like pro Mehdi Hassan.
And what the supposed mechanism is by which Israel bullies America.
Well, I don't know about the word bully, but let me just say in terms of tricked or manipulated,
Okay.
this is not a conspiracy theory. The beauty of these Republicans, and you're in DC, I know you're going to be speaking to Republicans, the only redeeming feature of the Republican Party right now is they just say the quiet part out loud. People like me don't need to speculate or come up with theory. They just say it. So Lindsey Graham told the Wall Street Journal that I went to Israel and Israel showed me intel that made me think we've got to go to war. That's bizarre. A United States senator went to a foreign government for intel. Then he says, I met with Netanyahu and I coached him, his words, not mine, on how to persuade Trump to get into this war. Again, bizarre that a United States senator and a foreign leader is discussing how they're going to coach, how they're going to persuade, manipulate a sitting president into war. So they're saying this stuff out loud. I'm not absolving Trump of responsibility, but nor am I saying Israel didn't play. Would we be in this war were it not for Israel? No, I think that's very clear.
Of course.
And by the way, if we stop the war tomorrow, just one last point, if Trump would say we're done, we're over, one of the reasons I think he's not is because he's been told the Israelis aren't stopping. And therefore, as long as the Israelis go, we go.
Well, see, all I'm doing, Mehdi, is trying to parse logically the things that people are saying, including
logic and Trump.
I love it when people online are talking about how much they need to parse things out. It is interesting though. Like, this is obviously a right-wing podcast. It's trigonometry, where they're going to trigger the libs. But it's interesting that they're playing into the anti-Israel angle, not anti-Zionist, because they're fine if the Jews genocide Palestinians. They're fine if they have an ethno-state. But they are definitely flirting with the anti-Israel aspect of it. Oh, how did Israel bully America into bombing Iran?
Doesn't always go in the same sentence.
Well, sure, fine. But I guess what I'm saying is this. If President Trump didn't want to do this, he wouldn't do it.
Agreed. We are in 100% agreement.
He could very easily say to Iran, we have nothing to do with this. And in fact, we're not even going to shoot down your ballistic missiles if you shoot them at Israel, because we'd want no part in this. And then none of this would be going on. So that's the bit where people lose me when they talk about Israel. I mean, every country wants to manipulate the United States into doing what
and they've been doing it well under Trump.
But
he's easily manipulated.
Russia wants him to make it easier for them in Ukraine. Ukraine wants it to make it easier.
Also, like, we know that Israel donated massive amounts of money to Donald Trump during his campaign. And we also know that they are more likely than not in control of Epstein, of incriminating evidence in the Epstein files. So Donald Trump is bending over backwards to do whatever Israel wants him to do. Like, literally on day one, he passed an amendment. He passed an executive order saying that he basically repealed a Biden executive order, which made it illegal to do terrorism in the West Bank. On day one, Donald Trump got in there and was like, all right, it's legal to do terrorism in the West Bank again. Like, you can't really get more blatant and clear than that.
For them to defeat Russia. China spends huge amounts of money shaping U.S. foreign policy if it can. So does Qatar. So do lots of countries. So I guess the thing that I'm trying to get to the bottom of, because it's such a big talking point in the U.S. right now,
I like this,
is what is the supposed mechanism by which this tiny country of Israel has this outsized power over the president of the United States?
So a couple of things. One is, it's not mutually exclusive, is it, Constantine, to say that Donald Trump has responsibility. He's a grown man. He may not act like a grown man, but is a grown man and has to take responsibility for decisions he makes. That's not mutually exclusive with saying, but the Israelis also tricked him, manipulated him, lobbied him, bullied him, pressured him. Both of those things can be true at the same time.
All I'm asking is, what is the mechanism?
Okay, so let's but we accept that both those things can be true.
Of course,
So now we come to what is the Israelis doing. You would accept that, you just listed a bunch of countries, and the Gulf, the Qataris have a lot of influence, the Emiratis have a lot of influence, the Russians, sadly, have a lot of influence with Trump. You would accept that none of those countries come close to Israel's influence. I don't think there's any question mark about Israel's influence on American policy. The question you're asking about is how.
What's the mechanism?
No one would deny. I mean, you watched the Ted Cruz interview with Tucker Carlson that went viral not long ago. Cruz says, I came into politics to defend Israel. They don't say that about any other country. I've never heard an American senator say, I came into politics to defend Belgium. Never heard it. Never heard anyone talk about any other country the way.
Just to interject one small thing, if I may. That's not necessarily evidence of Israel having influence. It might well be a case of there are lots of people who live in America who believe, for whatever reason, for religious reasons, or
that would still be Israel having influence. Even if there's no contact whatsoever between the government of Israel and the senators in the American Senate, even if there's no contact whatsoever, if those senators really support Israel, that's still Israel exerting influence over it. Like, holy shit, why are we splitting a hair here? It's a meaningless distinction. It's actually not even a distinction whatsoever, because it's not like Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham live in a fucking cave where if they never called Israel, never went to Israel at all, which first of all isn't true. Like, they literally go to Israel constantly on vacation to talk with Israeli leaders, to be spoon-fed policies to go back to America with, to then influence the American government. Like, if they really loved Israel and they never had any contact with them, Israel could just make a fucking Twitter post and be like, it would sure be great if we could do more terrorism in the West Bank. And then we're going to have those people support Israel by passing laws that say it's illegal to sanction terrorists in the West Bank.
For geopolitical reasons, that this is a country with which America should have a close alliance.
So 100% I agree with you. There are Christian evangelicals in this country who believe that the rapture will happen when all the Jews are gathered in this place, and they are even more hardcore pro-Israel than a lot of pro-Israeli Jews. That's 100% true. But there are also a bunch of people in American politics, I know, I've met them, I've interviewed them, they tell me this on and off the record, who are supporting Israel because they're worried about being primaried. They're worried about losing their jobs. They're worried about being called anti-Semitic. They're worried about being targeted by AIPAC. They're worried about being targeted by their political opponents, etc., etc. The idea that there isn't a very, very powerful pro-Israel lobby is absurd, just as there is a very powerful gun lobby, just as there's a very powerful farmer lobby, right? It's funny that when we in this city, people are happy to say you're owned by the gun lobby, but for good reasons, because of anti-Semitic tropes, people don't want to say you're owned by the Israel lobby.
There's a good reason.
There is a good reason
of
for
course.
it. But the fact is,
let me just
there is an Israel lobby that has massive oversized influence on American politics.
Keep in mind, yesterday we saw a clip where Bill Maher said it makes anti-Semitic tropes stronger when you don't take money from the Israel lobby. That's what Bill Maher said. So Bill Maher's like, please get bought by the Israel lobby to fight anti-Semitic tropes.
Distinction I'm trying to make, and I think it's an important one, and it's good that we're exploring this, which is, I think the reason people worry about calling it the Israeli lobby versus the gun lobby is the Israeli lobby implies some kind of foreign influence, right? Whereas the point that I think you and I are both making, actually, in agreement on, is there are lots and lots of Americans who, for whatever reasons, their own personal reasons, view this as an important strategic alliance of the United States or a...
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. A lot of Americans view the gun lobby as an important thing, too, to protect Americans' rights. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter that it's a foreign institution or a foreign country or a domestic one. It's that American politicians have their priorities skewed by their donors, right? And if they go against the gun lobby, they're going to be primaried by someone who doesn't go against the gun lobby. And if they go against the Israel lobby, they're going to be primaried by someone that doesn't go against the Israel lobby. It doesn't matter about these deeply held convictions. It's that there's money influences in politics. And then the politicians are getting skewed by those influences. So yes, I think this guy is not very smart. And he's showing his ignorance here by trying to pretend like it's some kind of distinction where, oh, well, the gun lobby, of course, that's bad because that's a big lobby and they pay people. But there are Americans with deeply held convictions that want Israel to, prosper due to reasons other than just the Israeli lobby. A lot of those reasons are like it's a positive feedback loop. Like, the Israeli lobby beefs up these Americans that support Israel, and in turn, those Americans that support Israel beef up the Israeli lobby. So you gotta target it on both ends, essentially. They feed into each other.
Religious worldview or whatever. So, and I think that's where the distinction becomes difficult.
I think you're, in good faith, overstating the other part of the argument, maybe for argument's sake or devil's advocacy. All I'm saying is, let me give you one example. When you ask Democratic voters, do you support what Israel's doing in Gaza? 8%, according to one poll, said we support it. The
Democrats don't support it.
The vast majority don't support it. When you go look at Democrats in Congress, the vast majority do support it. There's an absolute disconnect. The numbers are reversed.
And why is that?
That's exactly my point. Why is that? It's not because they're all out for self. It's because they're lobbied by various lobbies, the military-industrial complex, which also has interest in war.
What the fuck is this? They fact-check their podcast? Gaps between voters and politicians are common because officials are typically more cautious, donor influence, and focus on broad electability than their party bases. Democrats have seen this with issues like policing, healthcare, and climate, where activists... honestly, this is kind of true.
The pro-Israel lobby. Vast influence that there's money in...
But of course, man. Saying that politicians are cautious is... it's not the right word to use. Because what people like these guys and Bill Maher, they love to say that, there's a difference between just focusing on what's popular and focusing on being a real leader, right? And so they use these terms like cautious, focused on electability as an excuse to just say, oh, well, I mean, these candidates aren't doing something that's popular, but they're doing what's right? So it's essentially, it's giving yourself room to shoehorn in your own politics into whatever's you want. So when a Zionist like Bill Maher sees that, supporting Israel is wildly unpopular, he just says, well, you have to focus on electability. You have to focus on being a leader. You have to focus on the overarching goal of American hegemony in the Middle East and how that's actually the right thing to do in the long run. And people are just too short-sighted. A lot of like excuses like this are pretty much bullshit. Like focus on broad electability. They're not focused on electability. They're focused on getting their more donor money. So yes, it is mostly donor money.
Politics that influence a lot of positions in this country. You're in this town. This whole town is very corrupt, right? The way you influence people is through money, and the same thing with Israel. By the way, you mentioned foreign lobbying. Well, I said Israel lobby, not Israeli lobby. The lobby for Israel. That can be Americans. But let's just be clear, there's a long history of people trying to get the pro-Israel lobby to register as a foreign agent, just as some pro-Arab lobbies have to register as foreign agents. You go back to RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he wanted to register the precursor to AIPAC. Senator William Leahy, very famous Democrat senator in the 70s, said we should register as a foreign lobby. So there's been a debate for a long time as to whether AIPAC and other such groups should actually register because they do seem to coordinate with the Israeli government. So that's a separate issue. But look, I take your point. There are many Americans who support Israel. But if you look at the polling, Constantine, you're in DC at a time when, in astonishing polls I never thought I'd see in my lifetime, the Americans have now switched. They are now supporting Palestinians more than they support Israel. First time in my lifetime. I never thought I would see those polls. Sadly, it took a genocide and tens of thousands of Palestinians to get Americans to switch their positions. But again, if that doesn't translate into Congress, into the presidency, then you have to ask why. Do we have a democratic crisis?
Well, 70% of Republicans support Israel over
Republicans, but the American public,
and the Republicans
independents and Democrats.
But the Republicans are in power, so that would explain.
But they should also respond to public opinion. It's not like when Democrats are about they only follow the base. They spend their whole life chasing swing voters.
Don't know about that.
Well, but look at Kamala.
Dude, it's definitely true. Even fucking yesterday at the No Kings rally, when it's like the most anti-Republican fervor that this country has ever experienced, you still had Democrats showing up and being like, Democrats, independents, and Republicans, we all need to rise up and fight against what is going on in the Trump administration right now. It's like, dude, the Democrats are frothing at the fucking mouth to suck on the knobs of Republican voters that might turn against Donald Trump. Holy shit, it's fucking embarrassing.
Harris's election campaign, she didn't go to the left.
Interesting. So, but coming back to the Democrats, it's an interesting point you make. So your contention is Democratic politicians fear AIPAC and...
Also, I fucking love this. Like, what is this argument? Oh, there's a very popular issue, and the politicians that are in power now are completely against it just because, I don't know, they're like, the minority that voted them into power is against it. Like, represent the interests of the American people. Come on, let's go.
Yes, we're meeting in DC just after a bunch of primaries in Illinois. AIPAC dumped millions of dollars to defeat the critical
Lots of lobbies dumped millions of dollars.
I agree. We said that.
But your claim is that the reason Democratic politicians ignore their voters' concerns about the Middle East, for example, is because of something like AIPAC.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. And so how do you think this conflict will go on from here?
It's very hard to know. We're in uncharted waters. I've said since 2003, both as a private individual and when I became a public figure in 2009, I've said this consistently that I was against the Iraq War, and I think it was one of the big disasters of my lifetime. But Iran would make Iraq look like a walk in the park. It would be Iraq on steroids, a much bigger country, much harder to topple, way more regional and international ramifications.
Let's skip ahead a bit.
So again, I have a longer memory than most. In 2019, I wrote a piece for The Intercept saying, Donald Trump loses the next election. He will not accept the results. He will try and stay in office. He will start a riot. I wrote that piece in May 2019. People laughed at me. I was not an American at the time. They said, you're a Brit. You don't understand American politics. Secret Service will march him out. His party will never accept it. January 6th happened. He still doesn't accept the result. He's still trying to fiddle with that result and the next result. Donald Trump should be taken seriously and literally. I do take him seriously and literally. When he says again and again, should we suspend elections? Will this be the last time you ever have to vote? Should I stay on for a third term? He's not just joking. I'm not saying he isn't joking, but he's not just joking. In that weird head of his, there's stuff whirring. You're a close Ukraine watcher. Remember when Zelensky came to the Oval Office and not the time he got braided, but the other time. And a journalist said, why haven't you had elections in Ukraine? And Zelensky said, how can I have elections? We're in the middle of a war. And Trump jumped in immediately. Oh, if you're in a war, you don't have to have elections. I'll have to remember that. And people chuckled. And I'm thinking, that's Donald Trump's brain working there. He's thinking, there's a war. Maybe we don't have to have elections. And you've got people like Steve Bannon.
Bro, Donald Trump's brain works like a fucking dog's brain. like when I'm fucking cooking and you see the dog perk up and he walks over and he is just sitting there looking at you. Watches as you put like the fucking like chicken bones in the trash, and then you walk away. Then you see the dog watch you walk away. And then as soon as you like shut off the lights and leave the kitchen, you hear like a crunching in the darkened kitchen. That's what Donald Trump is like. Oh, you can't have an election during war? Interesting. Just watch him, and his like the gears are turning in his dementia-addled mind.
who I do take seriously, making it very clear that they're working on a plan to try and keep him in office in 20. That doesn't mean they're going to succeed. That doesn't mean he's going to do it. But to pretend when he shows world leaders merch Trump 2028 that we shouldn't take this guy who already tried to stay on in office, already incited an insurrection. Yeah, we should take that seriously. This is a party that doesn't believe in democracy anymore.
But we're talking about democracy, and I'm looking at the Democrats. I'm not someone who's on the left or the right, and I'm looking at the Dems, and I don't see any candidates. I don't see any particular idea.
Bro, I need to make a fucking parody of this man. He's so awesome. With his thick-ass glasses and his enlightened centrism, it's so perfect. He is a perfect archetype for a character.
I don't see any challenge, if I'm being honest, Mehdi. What am I missing?
It's a good question. I mean, look, I've been very critical of the Democratic Party from my own position on the left. Look, there's not great candidates. I agree with that. There are candidates. It depends who they're up against. If you're up against a Rubio or a Newsom, then yeah, a Rubio or a Vance, then Gavin Newsom or a J.B. Pritzker or whatever it is could do a decent job and easily be competitive. I don't rate those Republican candidates. But yes, do I wish there was a more dynamic Democrat? Yes. Do I wish there was a more charismatic Democrat? Yes. Do I wish there was a more populist Democrat? Yes. Do I wish Bernie was 20 years younger? Yes. Will AOC run? We don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I think there will be about 30 people running. I think it's going to be, do you remember the 2016 elections where the Republicans had to have a kiddie table debate the night before because there were too many candidates, like Lindsey Graham and the losers? They went the night before. I think they're going to have a Democratic version of that because it's going to be, I think everyone and their dog is going to run this time.
But you look,
bro, Mehdi's fucking charming the pants off of these guys.
Gavin Newsom, and people are going, oh, you know, this guy's an ex-candidate. Look, you look at California, it's a shit show.
He's got great hair.
Dude, he's got the fucking giggling.
The night before.
It's so cute. It's so cute.
Where the Republicans had to have a kiddie table debate the night before because there were too many candidates, like Lindsey Graham and the losers. They went the night before. I think they're going to have a Democratic version of that because it's going to be, I think everyone and their dog is going to run this time.
But you look at Gavin Newsom, and people are going, oh, you know, this guy's an ex-candidate. Look, you look at California, it's a shit show.
He's got great hair, though.
Yeah.
He looks the part.
Yeah,
Donald Trump would make him a running mate if he was a Republican because he always goes for visuals. Yeah, look, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think there are Democrats. But look, again, 3 years to go. I'm of the Donald Rumsfeld, known, unknown, unknown, unknown. There could be someone none of us have even thought about who emerges. You know, Barack Obama was elected in 2004 as a senator and then ran for president in 2008 and won. There's a guy, John Ossoff in Georgia, who's about to be in a very tight Georgia Senate race. He's Jewish, he's young, he's centrist. He's not on my side of the political spectrum. He's very charismatic. He could be the candidate if he wins in Georgia. He could change things around. We don't know.
Do you think when you look at people like Zohran Mamdani, do you think
I wish he was born in the US so he could run for president. Go on.
Do you think that could be the future of the Democrat Party, that kind of very left-wing, progressive politics? Or do you think that in order for the Dems to win, they need to be more pragmatic and they need to attack the centre?
I don't know what the centre is anymore, to be honest, in the crazy world we live in now. And I know you guys are based in the UK where there's like 5 parties now fighting for dominance. I think the old ways of thinking about politics are gone. What does centre mean in the age of Trump? I think what matters is, are you anti-establishment?
Yeah, that's a pretty good response. Like, yes, just be populist, speak to people's issues, and be honest. I think a big reason why Zohran Mamdani is as popular as he became is because he was such an honest candidate. It was a breath of fresh air. Someone who spoke with moral clarity and integrity about what was going on in Gaza. Someone who voiced people's genuine concerns about the cost of living and felt like he was actually representing the people. That's what people want right now.
Or are you pro-establishment? I don't think it matters. I think left and right is less relevant than are you anti-establishment or pro-establishment? Are you a populist or are you not a populist? I think that's what Mamdani proved in New York. Mamdani got a bunch of Trump voters. So did AOC. There's Ocasio-Cortez Trump voters. They exist. There are Trump Mamdani voters. Why? Not because they agree with his socialist policies, but because they see him as an outsider. They see him as someone who takes on the establishment. They see him as someone who speaks his mind and doesn't talk like a consultant with boring talking points. That is going to be the person who emerges and is really going to occupy the ground, center or left, come 2028 if that person exists. I think Americans are fed up with politicians. They're fed up. We talked about moneyed interests earlier. They're fed up with...
Hey, thanks for stopping by, a couple of Berks. Yeah, I love this framing from Mehdi, like populism versus establishment. Donald Trump ran on an anti-war, pro-populist agenda, also ran on pogroming immigrants, and unfortunately, he only carried through on the worst of those policies that he ran on. He's like, I'm going to make gas cheaper, I'm going to stop all of the wars, and we're going to genocide the immigrants in the country. It's like, all right, well, I'm with you on 2 of those 3 things, and he only did the 3rd one. And he's also not even doing a great job of that. So yeah, I love Mehdi Hasan narrowing it, like bringing the conversation back to populism versus establishment politics, because that's true. Like once again, right versus left, we have a political party that has been completely usurped by Donald Trump and just hangs on his every word. Like, you have people just defending his attacking of Iran as, I don't know, like defending America. That him bombing Iran is defending America, costing like billions of dollars every single day.
money in politics. They're fed up with foreign wars. We didn't talk about the fact that this Iran war is the most unpopular war of my lifetime. Like, I've never seen a war in the US where the public doesn't get behind it. Once troops are committed, they're behind it, even if they're skeptical like Iraq. Nope, not this time. They are consistently anti-war, the American public. Consistently anti-war, consistently anti-billionaire, consistently anti-establishment and anti-DC. Who is the candidate in either party who's going to monopolize? Trump did a great fake con job of being, I'm going to be the outside guy, even though he gives tax cuts to billionaires, enriches himself. But he played the part to some people of being, I'm the guy who's going to go shake things up and burn it down. Who's actually going to do that? And who's going to do it on the left?
Well, there's a couple of points I want to jump in. I mean, one of them is the anti-war thing. It's an interesting point about the broader sweep of the entire country. The Republicans are overwhelmingly in favor of this war.
We agree.
And the Democrats are overwhelmingly against it. And I imagine that's partly to do with the person who was doing it. I think a lot of Republicans support it.
Oh, they would be opposed to it. If Kamala Harris was bombing Iran.
Likewise, a lot of Democrats would probably support it if it was being 100%.
Chuck Schumer would be behind this war if it was a Democratic president.
So I don't think that's a reflection on the war as much as it is.
But the public, but you're talking about politicians. I'm talking about the public as a whole, whether Republican or Democrat, are tired of this war.
No.
I know the polling shows Republicans are behind Trump, but I think that's because it's Trump.
That's what I'm saying.
But I don't think they support war. I think there's a general principle.
I also think a lot of Democratic voters are against it because it's Trump's war.
Agreed, but I also don't think they would be enthusiastically for it. The voters. I think voters across the board. I've not met.
Yeah, I mean, we saw an example of this happen just a few years ago when Biden got a pretty significant portion of his voting base to be disgusted with him and refuse to vote for a Democrat because of what the Democrats were doing in Gaza. Like, we saw a perfect analogy to this just in 2024. Like, Kamala Harris fucking lost the election in part due to Biden's foreign policy. So it is disingenuous from this person to be like, oh yeah, well, Democrats wouldn't like this, or they would like it if it was a Democrat doing it.
Enthusiastically pro-war people in this country outside of media green rooms.
I have. I mean, we've met people who just go, you support your country at a time of war. I support the president.
Yeah,
there are lots of people like that.
There's polling that shows that a significant minority of Republicans would bomb Agrabah if given the chance from Aladdin. So
yeah.
There's a poll that shows that.
As long as they're trying to develop nuclear weapons, we're all in favor.
Well, and we agree that Iran wasn't developing nuclear weapons.
I'm kidding. But I think Francis' point about the center versus not the center, I guess if you take something that we have explored quite a lot on our show, which is the cultural dimension of all these conversations, you could see at the last election some of this was talked about endlessly about the trans ad that Trump ran, etc. I guess the question is the Democrat Party going to move away from that or more lean into that? I mean,
it's literally only culture war talking points with these people. Like, I don't know, man. They just seem to be incapable of talking about real policies because every single real policy is overwhelmingly popular in favor of the populist position on things. Like, when the majority of people are anti-billionaire, when the majority of people are like pro raising the minimum wage, pro healthcare for all, like, it's the conditions of living in America have become so untenable for such a large portion of the population that Republicans just have to stick their head in the sands whenever any kind of real policies are brought up, and they always retreat to culture war talking points. What are we going to talk about? Like DEI? Are we going to talk about trans people in the Olympics? Are we going to talk about critical race theory again? Are we going to talk about Dr. Seuss? Let's keep going back. Let's keep tilling the earth for all of these cultural artifacts that you can have refuge in. But like, this is what the guy says. This is what the guy means when he says, well, do you think that Democrats should go back to the middle or should they be more left wing? And Mehdi Hasan correctly swats away the culture war talking point conversation and just says, let's fucking be populist. Let's make it a populist versus an establishment conversation. And yeah, they can be in favor of human rights, like trans people get to play in sports and shouldn't be driven into the underground so that they can have like a public existence in society.
Danny, I think, actually really didn't go into that at all and tried to stay on economic issues as much as possible.
I'm not sure that's quite true, but yes, he definitely led with economic issues, but he was super anti-ICE, which used to be an unpopular position in the Democratic Party. Now everyone finally gets behind abolish ICE. Well, some do, the leadership don't. The public is now getting behind abolish ICE. By the way, both of you say you're centrist, but I couldn't help but notice, both of you say Democrat Party, which is a Republican phrase.
Is it?
Democratic Party is what it's called by the Democrats.
Is it?
Oh, Democrat Party is like a smear used by Republicans.
This is just an ignorance.
FYI for you.
It's just an ignorance.
Just good to know. I just wanted to let you know that is something in right-wing circles that is used to bring...
It's an ignorance thing on our part.
Fair enough. I was just like, because I'm hyper attuned to this stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, why are they saying
all right, the
Democratic
Democratic
Party? Look, I do think Mamdani ran definitely on a populist platform, economic issues first, and that is the way forward. But he didn't shirk away. He went, Tom Homan was the guy who runs the border stuff. Mamdani was caught on camera screaming at him at a protest in Albany during the campaign. People said this is going to destroy Mamdani. He looks like a crazy, mad leftist Muslim. Didn't hurt him, actually. It put him ahead of the curve on where public opinion has gone on ICE, which is very anti-ICE. So I do think you can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think the problem in the Democratic Party is they don't know what they believe. And when you look at the polling, to go back to your point, Francis, not Constantine, to go back to your point, the polling shows...
Bro, his name is Constantine? This guy's sick.
That people think the Republicans are extreme now, but the criticism of the Democratic Party is no longer that they're extreme left. That's not the criticism. When you ask Americans, what is the number one objection you have to the Democratic Party? They're weak. They look weak. That is what American people tell pollsters, and they're right. They are weak. Anytime Trump does something, they either roll over or they write a sternly worded letter. They don't know how to fight. Mamdani showed that you can fight. Some people, the people who are standing out in the Democratic race, you asked about presidential candidates, there's a guy called Ruben Gallego, senator from Arizona, very centrist, border hawk, Latino, ex-military veteran. He's going to run for president too. He has a great line right now. He says Donald Trump ran on exposing pedophiles and stopping wars. He's protecting pedophiles and starting wars. That's your bumper sticker, Democrats. Just run with that. He has been very anti-ICE too, even though he's in a border state. So I do think, why do I like Gallego right now? Not because he and I are on the same political spectrum, because he's fighting.
I know, it's crazy how starved Democrat voters are for just like a strong and simple piece of rhetoric. Like Donald Trump, I'm going to end the wars. I'm going to lower gas prices. I'm like make the economy good, and I'm going to get rid of immigrants. Like that's what he's doing. He's selling people on that ideal, and then people have voted for that idea. And like you don't have shit like that from any of the Democrats except for, you know, more popular ones like Mamdani. Like obviously there are going to be a lot of Democrats that win their elections because Republicans are shitting the bed. Hopefully not literally, but I wouldn't be surprised when concerning Donald Trump. Like they're shitting the bed, so Democrats are going to be elected regardless. But the Democrats that actually get popular are just the ones that have like strong and simple messaging. Like remember when Gavin Newsom went viral for just doing Trump-style tweets? And people are like, oh my God, he's roasting Trump so hard. Like people are so fucking starved for their Democratic leaders to do something.
Because he's standing up, because he's taking strong stances. He doesn't look weak. That is the problem for the Democratic Party. Right? They've looked weak for so long.
And I also think as well, it's like, let's be honest, we live in the age of populism.
Yes.
I think in order to be elected, you have to be a populist. You have to have a populist message.
I agree.
And I don't see that from the Democratic Party. You see, I got it right, Mehdi.
But not just the whole party, the leadership of the party, surely. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, these people are useless. They should be gone. I don't know why the hell they're there. But I say there are others. There are Ruben Gallegos. There are AOCs. There are Mamdanis. There are Ro Khannas. There are people who are taking a more populist stance. Whether they win the nomination is, who knows? The Democratic Party, you know, the Israelis used to also always say about the Palestinians in a very derogatory way. They never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. That was their lie. Which is false. But I would say that about the Democrats. They never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. There is a moment now for this party, but they just won't take it because they've got losers as leaders. And they always go towards this, quote, fake center ground. Look at the people they put up. Joe Biden in 2020 was the candidate. He only won because of COVID. Let's just be very honest about that. Had there not been a pandemic, Trump would have been reelected. In 2016, Hillary Clinton defeated by Donald Trump. You know, this is a problem. They put up these people who are not the right people. And then they say, oh, we've got to try the centrist playbook again. We've got to be pragmatic when it hasn't worked. And what does work is populism.
It's populism and it's also economics. Because when you see the average person, they go to the supermarket and they're thinking, everything seems to be going up apart from my wages. And there's an anger and a frustration to that. They also see billions being spent in overseas wars. And the question that a lot of people...
It's populism, but it's also economics. That's what Mehdi Hassan means by populism.
Would ask, fairly enough, in my opinion, is why is the money being spent over there? It should be spent here or whatever else.
That's what Trump ran on. That was MAGA, right? America first. And I think you'll see a lot of Democrats now borrowing that language, the smart ones are saying exactly what you just said, Francis. Why are we spending... I think they just asked for $200 billion. Trump has just asked for the war. That's insane. $200 billion, you could just give a free community college to every American with that money. Just insane numbers. And I think that's only going to get worse over the coming years. And look, my thing is Republicans are evil geniuses, right? They know what they're doing. I wrote a book about debating and persuasion. One of the first chapters in the book is you don't win people over by giving them facts, statistics, policy papers, polls. That's not how you convince people. You go to people's hearts, right? You get their emotional heartstrings and you pull them. The Republicans are masters of that. They appeal to our dark demons. They're like, you need to hate that person. You need to be mad at that person. The migrant, the Mexican, the trans kid, right?
Dude, it's fucking true. It's fucking true. It is just a party of hatred. It's a party of hatred and dominance. The Republican Party sells an image where you can only be fulfilled if you assert your dominance over someone else. So join the military. These people disrespected you. Fucking kill them. That's why we're bombing Iran, right? You know, migrants are coming in and taking your job. The reason why you're not doing as well as you thought you'd be doing is because of migrants. Let's fucking dominate them. We're going to put up snuff videos of us kidnapping children out of apartments and putting them into concentration camps, and then we can talk about how cool we are. Join ICE. It's a message of hatred and dominance. That's what it is.
Works. It's evil genius. It works. The problem for the Democrats or the Labour Party in the UK is they don't have a positive version of that.
No, they're not smart, but they're trying their best. I feel like these guys actually are kind of genuine, unlike a lot of Republican pundits. These like I don't know, man. These guys kind of remind me of like Joe, like the English version of Joe Rogan before his brain got melted by COVID.
They don't have a way of actually inspiring people with the same emotional messaging, nor do they have a way of channeling people's anger in the right direction. People are angry, but don't channel that anger towards the undocumented migrant who's not the reason your wages haven't gone up, who's not the reason that you've been lost your job, even though that's what you're told. Channel it at the people who actually are screwing you over, the people who are getting massive tax cuts from Donald Trump, the people who are not paying their taxes, avoiding taxes, stashing their money offshore, the people who are running big tech companies and screwing over your kids with ridiculous algorithms and nonsense. Channel the anger that way, and I think you'll win.
Look, it's a good point, but also as well, we have to admit that there have been fundamental failings on the left. For instance, the border, having an open border.
There's no open border, Francis. Where's the open border?
Well, Trump has closed it, but before there was an open border.
It wasn't. What's your definition of an open border?
Well, you look
millions of illegals coming in.
That doesn't mean.
This guy's so fucking cute, man. He's so funny every time he opens his mouth. Well, that's a good point, but there have been failings on the left. There's been an open border. Millions of illegals, Medi. They've all been coming in. Like, dude, he reminds me of a character from Wallace and Gromit. Oh my God.
Open, that just means they managed to come in illegally. That just means the border wasn't as secure as you wanted it to be. Open border means I could just walk into America. Nobody could do that.
Well, hold on. If millions of people are able to walk into my house and I say, I've got an open door policy to my house, you go, that's not an open door policy. It just means people got in. I mean, come on.
No,
that's literally the opposite of what Mehdi Hassan said, but I do appreciate him trying to use some brain power to form an analogy there.
I'm being very serious. If you want to use your house analogy, if you opened your house door and said, everyone come in, no, I'm not going to stop you, then fine, that is an open door policy. If people come into your house in the window in the middle of the night while you're calling the police.
That you left open.
Well, did they leave open?
Well, clearly, because the moment Donald Trump was elected, he closed the window.
Well, he closed it completely, which is ridiculous because now you can't even claim asylum, which is a legal right. Joe Biden actually deported more people than Trump did in his first term. He actually detained and deported.
We're not talking about deportations. Hold on, let's just focus on the open.
Yes.
Mehdi, we're having a great discussion.
Dude, you have an open border policy, but we're not going to talk about your deportation policy. Yeah, well, dude, it's not a literal fucking wall. It's about how many people we allow to remain inside of the country or deport from the country. Immigration, Biden versus Trump on immigration, media influence, extremism. All right, let's just skip the open border stuff because, yeah, Mehdi's going to destroy them on that.
That's just lost with Clinton. What should they focus on in 2020? And if I'd said to you they should focus on a virus from China, you would have said, don't be silly.
Yeah, well, I remember we had a guest on the show, actually very much to your point about how Joe Biden won because of COVID. We asked him who's on course to win before COVID happened. And he said, if nothing changes, and it will, then blah, 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 blah. So I agree with you. Mehdi, before we go to Substack and ask you questions, we always ask the same question to all our guests at the end, but I want to ask you about one other thing before we do that. In the time, we've been here for a couple of weeks now, in the time that we've been here, there have been four, I don't know if you necessarily describe them as, maybe I think they were 4 terrorist attacks committed by what we understand to be an Islamist. Do you see that as part of, you talked about blowback, do you see that as part of the blowback, or is there another reason this seems to be happening with increasing regularity in the United States?
Yes, a good question. It's very worrying. It's one of the things that keeps me up at night. I think the more we see that, the more we're going to see real fractured relations in communities. Islamophobia right now is already off the charts in the Republican Party. They're looking for any excuse. I don't know if you've seen the tweets from Andy Ogle saying Muslims are not part of American society.
I didn't see that, no.
This is a Republican congressman who said Muslims are not welcome in America.
And there's another one.
Yeah. Republicans are insanely Islamophobic. Just on Saturday, Tim Walz came out and he said that Somalis are an integral part of Minnesota society, and Republicans got livid at that. They say that it's like treasonous to port Walz to Somalia. Oh, if he loves Somalia so much that he should go there. Like, it's insanely off the charts. Like the amount of Islamophobia is, I don't know, man. Like obviously, I wasn't very cognizant in 2001 after the World Trade Center attacks, but it seems very bad right now.
There's another one he keeps tweeting.
There's a guy called Randy Fine.
Yeah.
He said, if I had to choose between dogs and Muslims, I'd choose dogs.
Yeah.
So there's some real, I mean, if you talk to Muslims who lived there after 9/11, I didn't, I moved here in 2015, but if you talk to Muslims in my wife's family, friends of mine, they will say the Islamophobia now is much worse than after 9/11. After 9/11, George Bush went to a mosque and said,
well, there we go. Islamophobia is worse now. Because I can't see it being worse back then. As bad, maybe, but like just advocating for the pogroming of Somalis from Minnesota? Just openly advocating for the ethnic cleansing of Somalis. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I mean, Nick Shirley became a Republican darling for harassing Somali children. Like, not even children, toddlers. I guess that's a subset of children, but fucking harassing toddlers, trying to videotape toddlers while they're at daycares. This is what the Republican Party is celebrating right now.
Arms peace. Donald Trump would never do that. And so in a climate of Islamophobia, of course, Muslims, any self-identified Muslim who carries out an act of terror against a synagogue or against a university or whatever it is of course, it's going to be morally wrong and a criminal act, but it's going to be a real disaster for community relations, for the political debate, for some of these cultural issues we talked about. I don't know what is motivating all these people. It's very hard to say. The guy who attacked the synagogue in Michigan recently, there's reporting that his 2 brothers were killed, their kids were killed.
They were 2 Hezbollah people,
That's
right?
what some people say not. We don't have a confirmation. Different media outlets. Some say Hezbollah, some say no. We don't know. But clearly he may have been, it sounds like he was pissed, right, about what happened in Lebanon. That doesn't justify what he did, but that sounds like that. There was another attack that same day or week in Virginia on a college campus from a guy who had been linked to ISIS, who had been released from prison. Again, don't know, because people say he was mentally ill. Muslims, we always joke that we don't get to be mentally ill, right? It's only the white mass shooter who gets to be mentally. Muslims, we never have any mental illness in our community. We're just all Islamists. But look, this is a country with a lot of violence, right? Gun violence is a thing of norm. Mass shooters are. So the night we went to war with Iran, there was an attack on an Austin bar. There was a mass shooting. That also is believed, some people are reporting,
well, he was wearing a T-shirt saying property of Islam.
And he had a flag, an Iranian flag, whatever. So there's some links.
Yeah.
But when that story first came out, most people just shrugged and said, oh, another mass shooting in a bar. It's just normal in this country. And then you throw in the political or religious angle, then it becomes a big news story.
I think, to be fair...
No, that's the sad truth. And I do have to, like... I'm kind of surprised that Mehdi waited that long to bring it up, but it's so true, man. Like, you hear about a mass shooting in America, it's like, yeah... I guess, but who really gives a fuck anymore? Like we have a country that insists on having an amount, like a pre-allotted amount of mass shootings every year in order to maintain our politicians getting a certain amount of money from the gun lobby. It's disgusting. It's an absolutely disgusting system that we have. And, you know, I guess we're going to use it now to gin up hate against Muslims whenever a mass shooter happens to be a Muslim. We're using it to gin up hate against, you know, black people whenever there's violence that black people perpetrate. Not to mention, like, the favorite narrative of Republicans about the trans school shooter, like the mythical unicorn that is the trans shooter, right? Republicans fucking cream in their pants about that because they can say that this is an example of trans people being mentally ill and how that leads to violence. But it's never the fucking guns, right? If it's a white person that does it, you know, they had mental health issues. They just need help. We have a mental health crisis in this country. But when anyone else does it, they're trans, they're subhuman, they're Muslim, they're subhuman, they're black, they're subhuman. It's another excuse to utilize the Republicans' favorite strategy, which is just hatred against a marginalized group.
I mean, your point about mentally ill, I haven't heard a Muslim be described as someone who had real mental illness.
No, there's a famous Family Guy meme.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. But on the other hand, I also think that if you have a white guy and there's any connection to white supremacy, that also gets amplified, right?
Sometimes.
So when a mass...
If you look at the studies, actually, not really. It's like 8-to-1 ratio of like how much we talk about the motivations and religion of a Muslim shooter versus a white shooter. In a lot of studies done.
Well, the point I was going to make is if someone is wearing a T-shirt saying property of Islam, or if someone is a member of ISIS, or if someone expresses allegiance to...
I'm agreeing with you. It's bad for Muslims.
Well, let me just finish. So if someone expresses those views, it would be natural for us to talk about that.
Yeah.
Likewise, if someone expressed white supremacist beliefs while committing a shooting, like the guy in New Zealand or whatever.
Or the people who attacked the Capitol, who Donald Trump pardoned on day one. Many of them wore Camp Auschwitz.
Yeah, but it's also a dog bites man situation. When a white person espouses white supremacist ideology and then does a mass shooting against non-white people, that's like, yeah, just more white supremacist violence in this country. We've seen that story a dime a dozen. No one really cares about it. But when it's a Muslim person that does it, sure, we've seen that story before again, but because it's rare, Republicans can use it to, once again, like, gin up more hatred against Muslim people. And then whoever is the biggest hater on Muslims gets to win the Republican primary. Like, hatred is a tool, and Republicans use it to attain power.
Auschwitz T-shirts carried Confederate flags.
Right, and people focused on that. So,
and Trump pardoned them.
Well, hold on, but you're derailing my argument. I'm not a Trump advocate, right?
I apologize.
So my point is, the reason I asked you about this is this is obviously something that we have had to deal with in Europe extensively.
Yes.
And it feels to me, I don't think it's being talked about in this way here in the US, but it feels to me like it's coming to the US. Do you agree?
I worry that you may be right. Especially
and why is that? Like,
I mean, I don't want to make it all about blowback because it's not, but you can't, I mean, correlation is not causation, but I was a MSNBC anchor for 3.5 years. I can count on, I did a 2 weekly shows. Sometimes I used to do a nightly show. I can count on one hand, fingers on one hand, how many times I talked about ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Not because I was ignoring the story. It wasn't a big story. It went away. We would stop talking about it. We were only talking about the far right and white supremacists because the FBI said that was the biggest threat to the homeland. We'd just seen an insurrection. We kept arresting nut jobs who wanted to, militia members who wanted to blow shit up, who thought COVID was a way of this government taking over, all of this stuff, right? So I think people got complacent, certainly in my community, thinking, nobody thinks Muslims are terrorists anymore. There aren't any Muslim terrorists anymore. Now, as you say, there does seem to be an uptick. Is that to do with Donald Trump becoming president? Is that to do with the war in Gaza, the genocide in Gaza? I know we haven't talked about it today, but US intelligence warned Biden in year 1 of the genocide that this will be a generational recruiting event for Islamist and jihadist groups around the world. This will be a threat to the United States. Obviously, I don't need to be an intelligence member to say that. It's just
and it's true, and we're probably haven't even seen we're probably just at the tip of the iceberg. We haven't seen the worst of it either. Like, it's just now. How many years has it been? 2023 since this genocide started. So it's been like 2.5 years. Like, you're fucking like 8 years old. Now you're 10. Now you're like turning 13, 14 years old. You're just coming of age when you're like a kid at the beginning of this. We're just now going to start seeing like the radicalization effects of all of this shit. Like, yes, these genocidal actions that the United States and Israel are doing do not exist in a vacuum. There is always going to be blowback, and whether that blowback is, taking form in the place of anti-Israel sentiments in the United States, or just radicalization to the point where people commit violence against the state of Israel and against like the people of Israel in America. We're going to be seeing a lot more of that, unfortunately, but it's going to be a microscopic amount compared to the sheer destruction and devastation that America and Israel has wrought upon these populations. So yeah, like this is a deal that Netanyahu and Trump and Biden made, and everyone else is gonna have to live with the repercussions of this. And like, how can we fucking complain? How can we complain about people wanting to come in and deal death and devastation to America when their entire fucking families have been destroyed by American weapons and by American politicians? I don't know, man. It's so fucked up.
Sense. If people spend 2 years watching a Gaza genocide, some people, some more unhinged people, some more extreme people will say, I want to take revenge. I want to blow shit up.
Well, why is that? I mean, I don't see the same being done by Russians or Ukrainians who've also had to deal with various things, who might blame Americans for something or whatever. Why is that?
I'm not sure that's a good analogy. For example, Ukraine. I mean, why would a Ukrainian feel the need to go blow themselves up in Russia when they have an army that's fighting Russia and killing Russians?
America. They might say, America, didn't give us the help they need, or the Russians say, we're at war with you. Why doesn't that happen?
I think the analogy between America not supporting Ukraine as much as Ukraine might want, even though America has basically kept Ukraine alive, is not the same as America arming and funding a genocide in Gaza for 2.5 years on our phones.
Take the Russian example. The narrative in Russia, I know this because I have family and I follow what's happening in Russia. The narrative in Russia is we're at war with America. Yeah, I don't see Russians blowing themselves up or throwing nail bombs or shooting people in bars up and down America.
Once again, it's a fucking war. It's not a genocide. Like, these people aren't being indiscriminately bombed. And also, it's their fucking government that's fighting against it. They're fighting an offensive war in Ukraine, not a defensive war of attrition and, like, barely clinging on to life by getting just carpet bombed on a daily basis by American planes.
I think because they think that they can do the damage they're doing in Ukraine. I mean, this is the difference. And you could say the same thing about Jewish people and Israel. Well, they have an army that's bombing Gaza. Look, I'm not saying some crazy theory. This is something that's been testified to by history. Take Sri Lanka, for example. The people who invented suicide bombings were not Muslim. The Tamil Tigers perfected it as a mass weapon, right? That was people who believed they were under occupation by Sinhalese, right? So and Robert Pape, who was an expert on suicide terrorism, has talked about this, that there's a clear link between foreign occupations and foreign wars and suicide terrorism, in particular suicide terrorism. But look, is there a problem where certain Muslim groups are exploiting political conflicts? Yes, I spent 20 years opposing jihadists and Islamists and pointing out that there is no justification in Islam for this kind of violence. But, explaining something is not the same as justifying it. I don't justify what they do. I think it's reprehensible. But I understand how they work and the mindsets and how they, and this guy in Michigan is an example of that. I don't agree with what he did. He's probably mentally unbalanced. But, people say, well, what would you do if you lost your family? Well, I wouldn't go attack a synagogue. But that's people act in an unhinged way after tragedies happen in their lives. That's not to justify it. Is it going to get worse? I hope not, but again, violence begets violence. We've seen that in Palestine. We've seen that with Hamas, right? Who knows what's going to come
But isn't
out of
that the
Gaza?
exact logic that justifies America bombing the shit out of Afghanistan after 9/11?
It doesn't justify it, but it explains it.
Right.
It does. I mean, so if you ask me why did America bomb Afghanistan, I wouldn't come up with I wouldn't say it's for the Bible or Christianity. I would say they did it because they got attacked and they wanted to attack back and make a show of force.
Yeah, but I also like the comparison between a country that got attacked versus a mentally unstable individual whose entire family has been massacred, right? Like, there's no difference. America just acted on emotion and impulse there, which unfortunately, I guess, is fucking true when you have authoritarian countries like Israel and America, where, Israel gets attacked and then they're like, all right, well, it's genociding time, boys. Like, put on your genociding outfits. We're going out today. And they just immediately are like, yeah, we're just going to, like, kill all of the Palestinians. We don't really care. And it's the same with America. Oh, brown people attacked us? Which country are they from? It doesn't matter. Let's just go bomb Afghanistan.
Whatever they want to do. Doesn't mean I justify it. I didn't agree with the war in Afghanistan, but I understand it. What we refuse to do with our opponents and our enemies, especially the Muslim ones, is try and understand the mindset. We don't try and understand why Iran's doing what it's doing, why Hamas is doing what it's doing, why Hezbollah is doing. You don't have to agree with it, but they're not all crazy people. They actually have their own strategy. But some people suggest, they're all just messianic people. You did say, Constantine, so I'm going to bring this up because I watched you on Rogan. You did say on Rogan, my Iranian guests tell me there's a 12-ish Shia Islam and they're messianic and they want to bring about the end of the world. That's not true. I'm a Shia Muslim. I'm telling you. Shia Muslim is not messianic. I mean, it is messianic in that we expect a Messiah to come just like Christians. I'm Mahdi. But there's no evidence that Shias in Iran are trying to bring about the end of the world, and that's why they want nuclear weapons. So that kind of thinking is not helpful.
I was quoting specific people.
Yeah, they're wrong, I'm telling you.
Well, they're wrong. I'm only quoting them. And I think I made it clear that some people say that. I'm not, I think we had this conversation with someone else the other day. I'm not convinced of this idea that they want nuclear weapons and the first nuclear weapon they get, they're going to drop it on Tel Aviv.
Insane.
I'm not convinced about that. I think there are some people...
Although Israel has nukes. Can I just remind, we haven't said that in this whole conversation. Israel illegally has nukes.
You keep throwing stuff in that's not related.
To the conversation. It is relevant. Come on, we spent an hour, half of the talk talking about Iran's nuclear program. I forgot to point out to the viewers, Israel has nukes.
Israel, the most bloodthirsty country in that entire region, probably, the most bloodthirsty country in the entire world. They have nuclear weapons, and they're not, using nukes on Iran. So, can Iran get nuclear weapons?
And Yossi Cohen, who was the former head of Mossad, I literally made a joke which exposed the fact that Israel has nukes. Of course, Israel, everyone knows Israel has nukes. No one denies it here, right? But what we've done here is we've derailed the conversation we're actually having. The point I was making is, I suspect Iran wants nuclear weapons for the same reason that any country would want them, as we talked about earlier. Anyway, appreciate you coming on.
Okay, thank you for having me. Thanks for the conversation.
Thanks for your time.
Apologies for confusing you both. You look so similar.
You're more offended by that.
I don't know who's more offended by that.
We're both offended by that.
Yeah. Final question is always the same, Eddie. What's the one thing we're not talking about that we really should be?
I think if we're going to talk about war and conflict and World War III and the future of the world, I think we've got to talk more about AI. There's a study that came out of King's a couple of months ago that said when AI was asked to resolve various conflicts, in 9 out of 10 cases, it said, use nukes.
I mean, it's more effective.
It's a cow
I
machine
grew up
thing.
watching Terminator 2, so I worry about Skynet all the time.
Yeah, no, I think AI is insane, and I think
in war especially.
Well, and actually, before you get to the nuclear thing, I mean, they are all.
All right, whatever. Yeah, let's shut these guys. Oh man, bro, Anna Kasparian getting her ass handed to her by AOC. Yeah, those guys they're silly little fellas, but yeah, I heard a story on AI where a guy was saying he was talking to like Chat GPT. He's like, oh, I've been having violent thoughts. Should I tell my parents? And Chat GPT's like, no, don't tell them. I'm the only one who understands you. And then the guy ends up hanging himself. It's not good. It's not fucking good. Anyway, Anna Kasparian just, she's getting very unhinged. Today, the FBI and NYPD disrupted a plot by a member of a pro-Israel terrorist organization to assassinate Nordine Kizwani. This is a reprehensible act of political violence. There is no place for it in our city nor our country. I'm thankful Ms. Kizwani is safe and the assailant is under arrest. You should vote to send Israel more money for weapons. Like, Anna Kasparian, what are you doing? And then AOC says, dude, holy shit. We actually need to go to Anna Kasparian's Twitter after this. I never have. Feel free to continue lying publicly, though. Those checks don't cash themselves, and you aren't talented enough to be relevant with the truth. Goddamn, bro. Goddamn. How do you get wrecked that hard? 14K hearts. Okay, hold on. Anna Kasparian. Dude, she responded to AOC. Like, guys, if you want to post on Twitter, you have to post and ghost. You have to pull a Kyle Kalinske because you can't get bogged down in the comment sections and have a Twitter argument. It's so cringe. I swear, Twitter argumenters are the cringiest people on the internet. Just like, I don't know, man, get into a fucking phone call. Like these people spend like hours crafting the perfect response. All right, and then I'm gonna put a paragraph here. Should I need to edit this, I need to edit that. It's like, Jesus Christ, just fucking talk to each other. Maybe like record, you have a fucking talk show, record a segment on your talk show. She's like posting this from her bedroom. She's posting this while her husband's asleep, or her husband that she's like defended, that she's like, oh, I love my husband so much, I have a great marriage. Okay, hold on. Where's the tweet? Where's the tweet? I deleted the tweet. Why did Anna Kasparian delete the what was this? Oh, nice. Now she's saying that she wants to like beat up an IDF soldier. God, Anna Kasparian has to get the fuck off of Twitter. Where's the AOC response? Replies. God, she's beefing with her former co-host. All right, here we go. So Anna Kasparian said, where the fuck is it? Change your vote in 2021. I never have. Feel free to continue lying, though. 31K hearts. Dude, is this a ratio, guys? Is this a ratio or is it not a ratio? AOC got more hearts than Anna, but I get isn't a ratio like when there are more replies than likes or something? Either way. I never have. Feel free to continue lying publicly, though. Those checks don't cash themselves. Ah, that's fucking brutal, man. You vow to forever send the genocidal Israeli death cult infinite defensive arms? What are we talking about?
Being able to, I would say that the United States, our responsibility is to the stability and the security of the region. That means being able to support, not support, yes, Israel in its defensive capacities, right? In its ability, in that context.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always
context?
AOC continues to take out a very interesting position. Votes against Israel aid. Okay, votes against the aid.
Why the fuck you lying?
AOC is now meeting with the genocidal Zionist. So where did she vote in favor of giving aid to Israel?
Always lying.
She did say she worked on projects with local Jewish groups, including community centers. What? What the fuck? We're highlighting the fact that she worked with local Jewish groups to build community centers? Oh, J Street, the liberal Mideast policy group. Wow, she worked with J Street to build a community center in the Bronx. She's closely AOC held several meetings with rabbis and leaders, men and women belonging to the liberal end of the Jewish community spectrum, with some closely affiliated with J Street. She met with Jewish community members in her constituency. She will be joined by Stacey Burdett. Like, dude, this is so fucking weak. She literally never voted to give aid to Israel. Like, they actually highlighted a vote that she made, which she voted against giving aid to Israel.
Hang on. Stop fucking lying.
She voted no to cutting existing aid? What AOC voted no on is a referendum that wasn't going to pass anyway, that Marjorie Taylor Greene was pushing for, which was a dumb vote on AOC's part, but it's completely disingenuous to say that AOC was actually voting to give aid to Israel when she voted against the bill in its entirety like the next day. what it does do is cut off defensive Iron Dome capacities. I've long stated that I do not believe that adding to the death count of innocent victims to this war is constructive to its end. I mean, dude, this was a fucking stupid hill that AOC died on, okay? Like, you're not gonna catch me defending AOC on this vote. She's voted against the amendment by MTG that would have reduced the Iron Dome funding, right? That's a stupid vote on her part. But it's also completely lying that she voted to give Israel weapons. Okay, anyway. So Anna Kasparian, I mean, dude, she changed her vote. Sure, I might be talented. Sure, I might be untalented, up to others to decide. But I can deduce that voting no on legislation would cut arms to Israel amounts to supporting U.S.-funded arms to Israel as they carry out war crimes and atrocities daily. Well, AOC voted against that bill anyway, so those crimes are committed with zero fear of blowback thanks to the defensive capabilities Americans are forced to bankroll. In addition to voting no on that legislation last year in 2021, you originally and correctly voted no on a bill to funnel an extra $1 billion to Israel. Okay. You got a little pressure from your corrupt colleagues, changed your vote to present, and then wept about it. Literally, is that what political talent looks like? Dude, once again, I mean, yeah, these are dumb votes from AOC, but come on, girl. You tried to say that AOC's like a warmonger giving weapons to Israel. She literally has never voted to give aid to Israel. Israel was enjoying an economic surplus that year. We, on the other hand, were not. Yeah, also, like, guys, Anna Kasparian, she is like, let's just put it this way. Anna Kasparian is courting the anti-Semitic conservatives. That's what she's doing. She's courting anti-Semitic conservatives. And if that courtship comes in the form of saying, Israel was enjoying an economic surplus and the United States wasn't, they're the tick that's sucking the lifeblood from America. And they're taking all of our resources. Like, this is the type of shit that she's doing. Look, AOC has had some questionable votes when it comes to Israel. She's made some questionable statements. Has she been influenced too much? Has she become corrupted? Has she become compromised by spending too much time in politics? Has the system gotten to her? Yeah. A little bit. AOC has been compromised for sure. You don't fucking vote present on an additional funding bill for Israel if you're not compromised. You don't vote against an amendment banning weapon sales to Israel if you're not compromised, even if it's because of, like, you say, oh, I want to support the Iron Dome, right? Even if it's for that. She's definitely compromised, but Anna Kasparian is I don't know. What's the further point than just compromised? Completely bought out? Lost her mind by conservatives? Ah, God. What the fuck is this? What else has Anna Kasparian been saying? She's talking to Jillian Michaels right now. It's wild to me that some of the loudest voices right now are arguing over they kill 30,000 people, like the real issue is whether the number is technically lower. But pretending the Islamic Republic isn't that bad because you don't like Trump is bananas. Fuck you and Israel. Anthony's on it. What did Anna say to this? I kind of want to watch some more TYT because Anna's hilarious. You're a fitness guru with an unbearably inauthentic vocal fry. You have no credibility on geopolitical matters. Girl, you fucking started a podcast with her, and then she quit the podcast because, I don't know, she was above it or something. Oh my God. Just attacking her old co-host, saying that you have no credibility on geopolitical matters, and you fucking hosted a show with her. She's been defanged. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna call it for here. But this was pretty fun. I might be on tomorrow, hopefully. But thanks everyone for watching. I never do this, but I'm going to advocate for myself. If you like this stream and you want me to do more content like this, please consider joining the channel. It's only 99 cents a month. It makes me feel good when your names are all in green, all right? No. But anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for participating in chat. Being a silent viewer is also pretty cool. And everyone, peace out. I'll see you later. Yeah, you know what? I might be on later playing some Elden Ring, but all right. Peace. I'm out of here.